Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Pollard at Jeff Pollard 11 on Instagram. We have a very important story right now. It's for somebody who had to deal with the EATON Pasadena fire, abandoning their home, having to deal with everything here. So thank you for telling us your story.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? And
I am Andrea. I have lived in Pasadena all my life. I'm a second generation. Lived in this house almost all my life. And we're in the flatlands, considered flatlands of Pasadena. And I've never seen anything like what happened, ever.
So to paint a picture, we're actually currently in a house where she had to get evacuated. Hopefully I'll be able to edit in some pictures and show you what she had to see in her front yard, let alone what people had to witness. You're very, fortunate enough to say she was able to come back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you please just paint a picture so, the fire happened and now it's in your neighborhood.
Right. What? Yeah, I was given a heads up about 6 o'clock that there was something going on that wasn't in the Palisades. And I went outside and I looked, and I did send you the picture. Usually when there's a fire around here in the mountains, in the canyons, it goes north, it goes east-west. It doesn't come south. But the winds were starting up, they were predicted, and the last time we had a windstorm like this in 2011, there was no fire. So it's like things blew down, but everything stayed intact. Tree limbs. So I went outside to look, and if you can see from the picture, it looked like it was just up the street.
Yeah.
It was down low, it was up the street, and I was like, okay, this is not normal.
Yeah.
And after a bit, you could start smelling the smoke in the house. And it was getting brighter outside, and I called relatives in Fullerton and said, I think I need to leave. And this was after 6. I started packing, and cousins in Fullerton suggested that I talk to the ones who were in Altadena, who were up here, and see what they were doing, and maybe stick with them, which turned out to be the best idea. And they were in the process of evacuating in Altadena and Hastings Ranch, which is the northeastern part of Pasadena. Okay. And they were all meeting at a friend's house who was on Foothill near the freeway. So met up with them there in a 2-bedroom condo with their 2 dogs, my family's big dog, and the 2 grandparents, their son, their daughter, the 2 teenage grandchildren, all of us in this thing going crazy. I'm like, what are we going to do? This is around 9 o'clock by then. They found a hotel for everybody but the son, Shane, and myself, to go out to Covina. They knew the Covina area. They stayed there the first night. But because they wouldn't take the dog, we kept the dog with us. So we were there. The television was on constantly, and I'm watching landmarks that I grew up going to, seeing, living with, burning down.
Can you list a few of those?
Yeah. Like I said, it came down the canyon. It usually goes to the east. It came down the west, which was Altadena Drive. And it took out the Pasadena Jewish Temple, which was the first thing that I really recognized. Is that they showed the star with the fire behind it, and that was just it. That was heartbreaking. And so we absorbed that, and I started texting my relatives out of the area. I said, the temple's gone. It's gone. And it just started burning down and burning across. And it's in neighborhoods that never got burned. And we knew that Altadena was burning. We didn't know how bad until the next day.
Wow. You're just trying to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you know?
And it's just trying to keep track of it and worrying about, is their house there? Is their house still standing? And, well, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No worries.
And, so the next morning, Shane and Des, I gotta call it, Desmond and Kaylee, who took us in and took care of us and have become fast friends. Des and Shane drove up to the two houses. And about an hour later, they come back. And I'm looking at Shane. He said, well, Shelley's house, the one in Hastings, is still there. The Altadena house is gone. It's completely gone. And I mean, that's just...
And I'm hoping to show the picture.
Yes.
The mailbox.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was that house.
I mean, she takes a. Did you take the photo or somebody else?
No, Shane took.
Okay.
Des took the photo.
There's gonna be a photo that will be just the mailbox.
The mailbox survived.
Just that, and then the whole. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
no, I just that's just wild to me.
I know.
I can.
So, and then Shane is saying, I got to tell my folks. How do I tell my folks? So he made the call, and it was very hard. And it's like, okay, we have to find a place to go. We can't stay with Des and Kaylee indefinitely. They're getting ready to move. Mm. And then the others wanted to be closer to the area. They didn't want to be out in Covina. Mm. So Shane starts calling around. He called Embassy Suites in Arcadia because they take dogs. You know, you had to have some place for the dogs.
Sure.
And his first thing was, I hope you can help me. We lost our house in the fire. And I mean, they stepped up.
The Embassy.
The Embassy Suites. They have been amazing. Amazing.
Terrific.
I'm calling out everybody at Arcadia. They took us in. They had 2 rooms ready for us. And you know, we all kind of migrated over there.
And I'm sorry, this is before like real news has been circulating.
Yeah, this
right?
this is around early afternoon on Wednesday, on the 8th.
Like a day 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the next day. And you know,
we
still have the TV TV's on 24/7. The fire is still burning in you know, Altadena and Hastings and Palisades, and there was another fire out in Silmar.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is like the peak time.
Yeah.
This is when it's bad everywhere.
Yeah. Because the wind's still blowing.
Yeah,
and
the Hollywood Hills got it. Yeah.
And there's no humidity at all. So we get there, and it's like the lobby of the hotel. There's just people everywhere, and dogs, because they took dogs, so everybody who had dogs was staying there that had evacuated. And it's like, it was just this look on people's faces. Like a haunting look, you know. And you could look at somebody, because there had already been guests staying there that, you know, had nothing to do with it. Mm. And then you know, everybody starts coming in, and I'm getting chills thinking about it. But just this look, and you know, they're in jeans and sweats, and you know, they're being assigned places and are just sitting around the lobby, and this went on for several days of it like this, where they had no place else to go but the room in the lobby. And so, you know, they're walking the dogs everywhere, and you know, you'd make eye contact, and it's like, okay, you're another evacuee. What's your status? You know, your home's still there, your home's not there, my home is standing, I can't go back, I'm still evacuated, my home is gone. We've just got the clothes off our back.
Yeah.
And then my cousins who are retired and still teaching in the Covina school district for years, decades. The school people started collecting things, clothing, food, toiletries, and they started bringing it in. And, this is totally unexpected. Absolutely. There's cards with gift cards and to stores and restaurants and donations. It was nuts. And this is just day one.
And you had a cousin who is a teacher, and you're saying like her community, her school,
Yes.
all these things came together.
Yes, and
to help her and adjacent people. Wow.
Yeah, and the Altadena family are retired teachers and retired principal, also out in Covina. So, they've been giving for years.
Yeah.
Anybody who wanted anything, I'm there. What do you need? And so, people started. Oh, the Warshaws need us. We're there. What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
They several times asked about starting GoFundMe, and they would say no. We don't need it. The insurance is taking care of us. We don't need it. Give it to somebody who does. Well, finally somebody just said, just give us your Venmo ID. Because they had a discussion going on. I found this out later. They had a discussion going on amongst them out in the school area that, well, we can't do it by Zelle because they can refuse the funds.
Huh.
So it has to be Venmo.
Okay.
So that they have to take the funds. They thought about this. They knew that they were going to turn the funds down. And they finally just said, just shut up and give me your Venmo ID. All right, fine. And it was difficult because then the money started coming in and more cartloads of donations started coming in. And, our 2 rooms are packed. But, mind you, the Altadena family were able to get memorabilia off the wall. The parents got some clothing and stuff. The son, Shane, came away with nothing except his go bag. And like I was telling you, he's hockey. He manages a hockey rink. He's referees. He coaches. All of his gear was gone.
Yeah.
All of his trophies and whatever from growing up were gone. But, people immediately started saying, okay, what size do you wear? And clothes started coming in that fit him. They were nice clothes. And he's allied with the Kings organization. And again, shout out to the Kings. They've been marvelous.
Thank you, Kings.
They arranged to replace all of his equipment, his skates, his sticks, and his helmet, and his uniforms, everything. And they've supplied consultants on the rebuild, and this is just one family that is getting all of this, and it blows me away. The donations coming into everybody.
Yeah.
You'd go by Santa Anita, and the one area off of Santa, coming south off of Colorado Boulevard, that was full of the Edison workers. Okay. And they had a staging area for Edison. If you go around the other side, on the Huntington Drive side, it was full of tents and tables of stuff that people donated. Clothing, food, water. They finally had to ask people to stop donating things because the people who needed things couldn't get in. There were so many donations. And again, this was not the only place in town that was taking donations.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And
I just, really quick want to reiterate that, I've known this lady for a while now, and we were catching up beforehand, so that's why there was a lot of the story that might get missed. But also, I just want to reiterate, I've known this woman for a while, and she has been one of those that would, help when you need it. And I could believe it when her family would be that way too. And it sounds like your family would be like my family, where we want to help because that's in our blood, but then we don't need it. We don't need things, you know what I mean? And so I say this because a community forced that love on her, which I'm happy for. And then I also, I'm hoping you'll send me, these links if they're still live and working, and, just so they can pop up and we can kind of continue this going, because I also want to, by the time of this post and by the time we're talking, things right now have settled, but the reason why we're kind of telling these stories is, one, to tell a history, but then also, not let this kind of fade, and you need to understand that there are the people that are still dealing with it.
Oh, yes.
And so, and that's what I mean is, it's like, I do want to go back to this, but like real quick, when I came out, I wasn't sure if I was just seeing, like tree brush, because if you're familiar with the neighborhood, it's still a very foresty, mountain town, lush area. So, but it was ash. It's still ash circulating.
But from where we sit, you cannot see any fire damage, except for the ash on the ground.
Yeah.
Unless you know that the hillsides are the wrong color now, because all the brush is gone.
Okay.
The dome from St. Luke's is gone, which you could see across the street.
Okay.
But even driving up along Sierra Madre Boulevard, and up to Hastings, the bottom part of Upper Hastings Ranch did not burn. So from Sierra Madre Boulevard, you do not see any damage. It's like you have to go up in the neighborhood, and which I haven't done yet, which we're going to do. And it's like, from what I understand, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And Altadena's worse.
Sure.
Yeah.
She it was the Hastings neighborhood that does the Christmas lights.
Yes.
So she was telling a story about how this neighborhood took pride in having beautiful decorations
every year for decades.
And as you were saying that, I'm like, you know what? I think I actually did that one time, and it's very true. It's very nice, beautiful neighborhood that had crazy. They like I just said, the decorations, and you said all gone, or most.
The upper Hastings. It's like, I think the Hastings subdivision went in the late 50s, early 60s. It's from Sierra Madre Boulevard, maybe 2 long blocks up to Alegria, Daverick, and then it's above Daverick, it's considered Upper Hastings.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Upper Hastings. The houses get bigger.
Okay.
And then, there was a lot of hillside there for a lot of years, and then they started building bigger up on the top of the hill. And some of those houses during the holidays were amazingly decked out. And those houses are gone.
That's wild.
I think about half the neighborhood, it's a mixed bag. Above Alegria, below Alegria, it's not as bad.
Okay.
And then you get south and there's nothing. You don't see anything. But, they would have decorations on every street, and the individual houses would decorate, and a lot of it's gone.
I'm hoping to kind of put that all in there, but the other day I got to visit the Palisades portion, and I got to go in, and see homes that were right off of Sunset and stuff like that. And so it's just, I'm envisioning that's what we're going to be seeing soon after this, and it's just, you can't believe it. They're gone. It's just the structure that's there, and that's still.
Well, and it's also, like I said, it's things that never burned before. It's areas, it's neighborhoods. Usually it would burn in the canyons and the hillsides, and maybe come down a little bit, but it's never burned down this far. It's never burned this way.
Yeah.
Where, I said it came down Altadena Boulevard, Altadena Drive, and then it went across. And as it was coming through Altadena, instead of going across east-west, it came down Lake Avenue. Now, Lake Avenue, North Lake is residential and small businesses, a lot of mom and pop markets, restaurants, stores. You get down. You've heard about South Lake, which is the Tony, you know, the good, the better shops, right?
Okay.
North Lake is urban,
Okay.
and but how can that burn?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, and it did.
Yeah.
And I grew up sort of allied with Altadena. My mom worked there for years. I worked there for part of my career. So we were always up there. We knew the little restaurants, the mom and pop stores, Foxes. Yeah, you've heard about Foxes. They've been in the news. I grew up there. Webster's.
Yeah.
Is gone. Although I think part of it is there, part of it's gone. They had moved. The bank where my safe deposit box is, I don't know.
Oh man.
And Elliott. I used to work across the street from Elliott Middle School. That it's standing but destroyed, essentially. And you just keep coming down and down the street. I think it went all the way past New York Drive, down sort of to Washington, and then it stopped. I mean, that's not...
That's not normal.
No.
I mean, and please correct me in all this,
Okay.
but like, just for anyone who's not even familiar with California, let alone Southern California or any of that, we do get like what we call the Santa Ana winds, which is just a directional inland wind. You know, you get the marine winds that push, cold ocean air from the ocean out, and then we get Santa Ana, which is usually the drier.
Yeah, it comes in from the desert.
Comes in from the the stateside, land side, and so it's a hotter wind, it's a rougher wind, but it's very common.
Yes.
We get that all the time, and we're Californians in a dry brush part of the state that we're fully aware of natural fires. That does occur often and stuff like that, but we do not get anything that she just said 2 minutes ago that comes in this direction and burns rapidly. I mean, Can you just quickly describe your house in the sense of, you mentioned ambers in our chat out, so
right. Like I said, I started packing up, and I guess between 7 and 8, I was trying to get things together and load the car. Well, from my porch to my car is maybe 10 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the wind was coming in like north-south, just blowing. The branches are flying all around. I've got trees, a big deodar tree in the front yard, and the lights, the outside lights came on, and it's orange. Everything is lit up orange, and it's coming in almost horizontally, and the embers. I mean, we get the wind, fine, I get that. I've never seen embers like that. We've never had embers down here. So it wasn't only smoky that I had to evacuate because of the smoke smell. I'm still having sinus issues, but I was afraid, and this was common. This is why everything so far down burned, is that the embers would get on the roofs and start another fire.
Sure.
So it was, you don't know, and that was people who know where I live and knew the area said, why did you have to evacuate? You weren't in any danger. I said, you weren't here. You didn't see it.
Yeah.
It's like it was everywhere. And it could have started anything, anywhere. And to get mildly political, mildly,
Sure.
it's like you can't control Santa Ana's like you can't control a hurricane, okay? As for the water pressure,
Okay.
there was so much going on. There were so many fires. There were so many hydrants and reservoirs being pulled on that, you're going to lose water pressure.
Yes.
There isn't enough water to come through the pipes, and no matter how no no matter how many reservoirs you hit, no matter how many rivers you fill,
Mm-hmm.
there was not going to be enough water
Yeah.
to fight Palisades and EATON and Sylmar and Hollywood Hills
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, yeah.
There was no way to win
Yeah.
this thing.
I'm a little, I mean, I should say a lot off to the side. So, and the reason why I say that is, well, I kind of, we lose, there's the fires going on, and a lot of the locals know that, if you're going to pump simultaneously in major cities, you're going to have less of that pressure and stuff like that. And we just want to make it very clear that it's like, no matter what part, I saw a street that had all the houses were fine. One house in the middle of houses that looked fine burnt down.
Yes.
And so when you're seeing things that look like fireflies, but they're embers,
Yeah.
and they're chunky, they can come from any direction.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about pine needle trees and stuff like that.
It could have gone up like that.
Everything, no one's safe. And this is so outlandish. This does not happen. We're still waiting for the big earthquake as Californians. and and we get this curveball.
Well, the other thing was that another reason you couldn't win is because the winds were going so bad, they couldn't get the air tankers up and the helicopters up to get to the water, to drop the water.
Yeah.
They couldn't start that until at least the next day because of the winds. There was no way to win this.
Exactly. What I also wanted to say,
Or prevent it.
Which kind of flooded my brain, was even where I was, I witnessed just crazy high winds. And there was not even a pattern to that wind. It's not like when you come out, you just see your hair brush one way. It was blowing everywhere, like a cyclone or something. And so it's just like, yes, the fires could go anywhere. And you brought up a great point. There was a moment at its worst that, I mean, I don't know much about helicopters, but I do know that if the air, like anything is too thin, that's why they don't fly up to Mount Everest. Or, if air quality is too bad, they just literally cannot leave ground.
No.
And so that's why it even got worse that way. And we probably were only saved to degrees because we didn't get a constant wind. It was just like a day or two of terrible. Yeah. And it just started. And so now everything's like contained. Can you kind of tell us aftermath things, like you coming back in when you felt like it, and then maybe speak for your family in terms of the ones that are still going through it in a different sense?
Well, excuse me. They lifted the evacuation, and to be clear, I was never in a mandatory evacuation.
Okay.
Our neighborhood was a warning. Across the street was mandatory. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But we were never mandatory, but because of air quality and everything else, I did not come back. Okay. They lifted our warning and gave us the all clear on Friday, midday Friday.
How many days would you say that was between?
Was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it was like 4 days.
Okay.
And I did come over, and I looked things over, and I walked through the house, and it smelled mildly smoky. It's an old house, so it's not completely airtight. What I was very pleased about was I walked into my clothes closet, which is a walk-in closet, new, relatively newer construction than the rest of the house, and it smelled fresh, tied fresh. So my clothes were fine. Okay. The back of the house is fine, which again, newer construction.
Okay.
So I knew that I'd be okay to sleep here.
Good.
And I went and I ordered a couple of HEPA air filters, which there's one, the other one. They work really well. Good purchase. And but they didn't arrive until Thursday, the following week, sorry. But I decided I wasn't ready to move back in.
Okay.
Um,
We'll talk about like
yeah,
you
but
know.
I did move back in on Saturday.
Okay, but they said
Yeah.
like I mean at one point they were suggesting don't sweep, don't even try to like
Right.
clean up stuff. I mean, tell us why.
Because you needed to kind of almost have a hazmat suit before uh, before you would be okay to sweep stuff up. And I had a lot of crap on my front porch. There were branches. There were, pieces of roofing,
Yeah.
which you can still see. There's a couple of small pieces. And then a lot of ash.
Yeah.
And it was all down the driveway. There were branches across the driveway. But I pulled those aside. Um, but yeah, you're not supposed to wet it because it activates the toxic chemicals. You're not supposed to sweep it because it gets back in the air. So I know that for anyone going into the burn areas, they're wearing, they've got the special suits, the boots, the gloves, the inhalers, and the masks.
Yeah.
Which my cousins did get.
Yeah.
So my gardener came around the following week, and they did sort of clear out the porch, but there's still dust, ash.
So you can't hose down anything because it activates the chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we're saying is like imagine just burning all the things that aren't meant to plastics, things like that. Now we got these micro things that are floating around everywhere now, and you're only going to kick it up. And you're only going to breathe it in, and, if we want to make it like a nicotine commercial, I'm sure it sticks to your lungs, and then you're going to have some problems like that.
Yeah.
But the idea is it's not good to inhale and all that, let alone. So I saw in the neighborhoods where they had to do the hazmats.
Yeah.
It's real.
Well, okay, so I moved in, and I was fine, but I kept going back to Embassy for dinners and whatever, because
To be with your family
to
that
be
can't.
I'm the calm in the storm, sort of. It's like, you need to vent to me. I'm here, and believe me, there was venting. It was interesting because you could see the progression in the stages of grief or whatever. It's like, the first couple of days you're kind of, oh, I don't have this anymore. I don't have that anymore. You kind of get weepy, and then you go on. And then it starts to get, you need elbow room. You need space. So we started going down to the lobby into each corner. It's like, okay, we need we need some space apart from each other.
Okay.
And then around day 4 and 5, the weeping and the real
when the
loss
shock is
started.
on.
Yeah. And so, you're there for a hug and a whatever, and it was everybody. Again, you could still see it with the people that were there. Embassy, the first Friday night, they hosted a dinner for everyone, all the evacuees, and they did another one this last Friday. So that was 2 weeks later.
Wow. Because
there are still people there. A lot of people have. The ones who could go home have, or they, because of their insurance situation, had to find someplace else.
Okay.
So there aren't as many, but there's still a good handful of regulars that are still there.
Okay. And so speaking, I mean, you just kind of did, but like, what is the broad consensus for everybody? So there's the people that can kind of move back in. What are like the thoughts and feelings of the ones that have to stay in the embassy? Is there a projection? Like they might have to be 2 more weeks, or is it indefinitely? Like,
it depends on their insurance, because my family's insurance, they have State Farm.
Okay.
Which, for all you've heard, on the Palisades side where they canceled everybody, they're doing an excellent job for my family, at least in Altadena. Good. And I think Shelley's got AAA, and they're doing fine.
Okay.
But my family got with their insurance agents and adjusters immediately, like the next day, and started the process. They got in touch with FEMA, and everybody's been great. And the insurance company, there's a bucket for rebuilding costs. There's a bucket for interior replacement. There's and then there's a fund for they were given funds for lodging, and they're the insurance company worked with Embassy Suites, and they're paying for at the time 49 days for them to stay there.
Okay.
Free. They don't even see the bill. Shelley's she has to keep the receipts and will be reimbursed because her house is still standing.
Okay.
Okay, but she can't live there yet. They had their house deep cleaned last week, and there's still some more things. They needed to get a new couch, new beds, because they were five houses away from the fire, so there was soot and everywhere. Their pool is going to need to be deep cleaned and emptied and everything, but they should be able to move back in a couple of weeks, in a week or so. Jeff and Janie have friends who have a friend who happened to have a house become available, and will rent it to them in Altadena that's still standing. He had to evacuate his mother and realized that she shouldn't be living alone anymore.
Okay.
Moved her into assisted living, and went to my family and said, "It's yours." And they said, "No, we will lease it from you." Again, people just giving. And
a lot of love.
Because she had lived there so long, it needs the floors redone and repaint. So that's being done, and they should be able to move in another week or so.
Okay.
And then their rent will be covered by insurance.
Okay. Is there a wider projection you can kind of tell us as a spokesperson for the city in terms of this is what the new normal look like for at least X amount of unforeseen future?
Well, for Pasadena, the infrastructure's still there.
Okay.
So once things settle down officially, I think Pasadena will, I think they're trying to expedite the building, the construction process, the approval process to get things rebuilt.
Okay.
I'm hoping that they have some kind of guidelines on materials to use.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Altadena is not an incorporated city, I believe. They are a city. They are allied with Pasadena, but they are their own identity. They and they are part of the county, LA County.
Okay.
So they're a little bit different. Any kind of infrastructure they had, official infrastructure's gone, pretty much. I think. So that's going to have to, organization is going to have to be reorganized, rebuilt. But I'm hoping that through the county, that that gets expedited, and again, construction gets expedited so that the people who want to rebuild can.
Okay.
They were talking. Now again, my family got in right away. They've had construction people look at it, contractors look at it, designers look at it. They've got an architect lined up, and so right now it's a matter of waiting for Hazmat to finish cleaning up the property and the properties around them, and give them a green light. And once they get that, they can go for the permits and hopefully start building right away.
And that's not going to be anytime soon.
Well, it depends. I'm not quite clear on the concept. Sure. It's like if you go private, you might be able to get it done faster. If you wait for FEMA and the state, I think it's like 18 months. So it just all depends on what it's going to cost and who's funding it, as to how long it's going to take. Sure. I think. Don't go. I think.
Yeah.
That was my interpretation.
Okay. I mean, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, not that there is, but is there any additional thing, story, anecdote that you can think of that you maybe missed that you feel is important? We can always mention it later.
Okay. Well, it's like the mailbox. My cousin, Jeff, retired school principal. His retirement hobby has been woodworking.
Oh,
And he had, a shop set up at the back of the house, all gone. All his wood, all his tools, everything's gone. But he built mailboxes and figures. He did, Snoopy, Winnie the Pooh, that his granddaughter Nicole would draw for him, and then he'd go and he'd cut it and paint it. And the mailbox had a different Snoopy or different character on it for every month.
aw.
And there's also Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh survived as well.
Okay.
And I will find you a picture of that because it's got a saying with it that, well, it's going to stick.
Oh, man.
So I will get that for you.
Okay.
So, of everything, because they're on a hill and then the property goes down the hill, there's wood and there's junk, there's the front steps, and that's it. It just goes down and there's nothing. But the mailbox is still standing. So that's kind of been our talisman. And
Okay. Very symbolic.
my cousin Shelley has started writing her own journal from the view of the mailbox.
I love it.
And I'll get you a link to that. But it's like the first one is when the fire is starting and it's happening all around. And
Yeah.
anyway, but they're going to rebuild.
Okay.
They're going to come back. But the mailbox stays.
All you could do is push forward.
Yeah.
And I hope that mailbox never comes down for any reason.
No.
It better become what do you call it? A city.
Landmark.
Landmark. Thank you.
Yeah.
But okay. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Thank you for your story.
We will. We're gonna stand strong.
Good.
Dina Strong.
Dina Strong. Woo. All right.
I need
And
my T-shirt.
being your neighbors, always happy to help too. We're all one state.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.